Hello there, and welcome to the Quiet Commodity channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. Maybe you had a long day, or maybe you're the kind of person who likes falling asleep to gentle facts and golden mysteries rather than counting sheep. Either way, tonight's journey is for you. You've got nothing to do but rest. Let your mind relax, your breathing slow, and your body grow light, as if gravity itself has softened. Because tonight, we aren't simply learning about honey. We're drifting through its amber depths, through hives and flowers, through chemistry and time, through the patient work of bees who have been making this substance for over 100 million years. Some of what you hear tonight may surprise you, or at the very least spark some curiosity as you drift off to sleep. And just before we begin, if these calm, curious explorations help you unwind or give you a quiet way to end your day, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. Now let's begin. Honey never spoils. In the tombs of ancient Egypt, archaeologists have discovered pots of honey sealed for over 3,000 years, and when opened, the honey inside was still perfectly edible. This remarkable preservation comes from honey's unique chemistry. Its low moisture content, usually around 17 to 18%, makes it inhospitable to bacteria and microorganisms. Combined with its natural acidity and the presence of hydrogen peroxide, honey creates an environment where decay simply cannot take hold. It is one of the few foods that defies time itself, golden and unchanging, waiting in darkness. Bees must visit millions of flowers to make 1 pound of honey. A single bee working her entire life will produce only about 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey. To create a single pound, a colony must visit approximately 2 million flowers, flying a collective distance of over 55,000 miles. That's more than twice around the Earth's equator, all for a jar you might spread on toast. Each foraging trip covers miles of landscape, each flower visited with precision, each droplet of nectar carried home in a stomach no larger than a pinhead. The work is vast, patient, and endless. Honeybees are not native to the Americas. When European settlers arrived in the New World, they brought honeybees with them, packed carefully in wooden hives aboard sailing ships. Before this, the Americas had no honeybees of the kind we know today. Native peoples called them white man's flies, recognizing them as arrivals from across the ocean. These bees spread quickly following the frontier, pollinating crops and orchards, and establishing wild colonies in hollow trees. They became so integrated into the landscape that many assume they were always there, but they are immigrants, like so many other things carried across the sea. A hive can contain up to 60,000 bees. In the height of summer, a thriving honeybee colony swells with life, a humming metropolis of workers, drones, and a single queen. Most of these are female worker bees, tireless and industrious, each with her own role depending on her age. The population ebbs and flows with the seasons, peaking when flowers are abundant, and shrinking in winter when the colony huddles together for warmth. Within the hive's wax walls, tens of thousands of lives unfold simultaneously, each bee contributing to a collective effort that transcends any single individual. Honeycomb cells are perfectly hexagonal. The wax chambers that bees build to store honey and raise young are shaped like six-sided prisms, each angle precisely 120 degrees. This hexagonal structure is not arbitrary. It is mathematically optimal, using the least amount of wax to create the maximum storage space while maintaining structural strength. Bees do not possess rulers or protractors, yet they construct these shapes with remarkable consistency, guided by instinct and the physical properties of softened beeswax. The result is a tessellation of perfect geometry, a honeycomb that is both beautiful and efficient, form and function merged into golden architecture. Beeswax is secreted from glands on the bee's abdomen. Worker bees between 12 and 18 days old possess special wax glands on the underside of their abdomens. These glands secrete tiny flakes of wax, which the bee then chews and molds with her mandibles, mixing it with saliva to make it pliable. Each flake is incredibly small, and it takes about 1 million of them to produce a single pound of beeswax. The bees work together, passing wax from one to another, building comb in darkness, guided by touch and chemical signals. What begins as a liquid secretion hardens into the structure that holds the entire colony's food and future. The queen bee can live for several years. While worker bees live only a few weeks in summer or a few months in winter, the queen may survive for 2 to 5 years, sometimes longer. She is the heart of the colony, the mother of every bee within it, laying up to 2,000 eggs per day during peak season. Her longevity comes from her diet of royal jelly, a protein-rich secretion fed to her throughout her life. She is larger than the workers, with a longer abdomen, and she moves through the hive, attended by a retinue of workers who groom her, feed her, and carry away her pheromones to spread throughout the colony. Without her, the hive would falter and fade. Worker bees are all female. Every bee you see visiting flowers, building comb, or guarding the hive entrance is female. Male bees, called drones, exist only to mate with virgin queens from other colonies. They do not forage, do not produce wax, and do not have stingers. Their lives are brief and singular in purpose. In late autumn, when resources grow scarce, worker bees often expel the drones from the hive, leaving them to die in the cold. The colony, pragmatic and efficient, cannot afford to feed those who do not contribute. The hive is a matriarchy sustained entirely by the labor of sisters. Drones die after mating. When a drone successfully mates with a queen during a mating flight, the act is his last. His reproductive organs are torn from his body in the process, and he falls to the earth, dying within moments. It is a brutal exchange, life given for the continuation of the species. The queen, meanwhile, stores the sperm from multiple drones in a special organ called the spermatheca, using it to fertilize eggs for the rest of her life. Each drone's contribution is preserved, carried forward in every worker bee born thereafter. His death is immediate, but his genetic legacy endures within the hive. Bees communicate through dance. When a forager bee discovers a rich source of nectar or pollen, she returns to the hive and performs a waggle dance on the vertical surface of the comb. The angle of her dance relative to the sun's position indicates the direction of the flowers, while the duration of her waggle conveys the distance. Other bees watch, touching her with their antennae, learning the location through movement and vibration. It is a language without words, written in motion and geometry, passed from dancer to observer in the dim interior of the hive. Through this dance, information flows and the colony adapts. A bee's wings beat over 200 times per second. The hum you hear when bees fly is the sound of their wings moving so rapidly they blur into invisibility. 4 wings, 2 on each side, together with tiny hooks to function as a single surface during flight. This rapid beating allows bees to hover, fly backward, and carry loads nearly as heavy as their own body weight. The flight muscles in their thorax generate tremendous heat, which the bee must regulate carefully to avoid overheating. Flight is exhausting work, burning through energy stores quickly, but it is also essential, the only way to reach distant flowers and return with nectar. Bees can see ultraviolet light. Flowers that appear plain to human eyes often display intricate patterns in the ultraviolet spectrum, patterns invisible to us but perfectly visible to bees. These UV markings act as landing guides, directing pollinators toward the flower's center, where nectar and pollen await. Bees' vision is tuned to the colors of the flowers they pollinate, a co-evolution stretching back millions of years. They cannot see red, which appears black to them, but they perceive a spectrum shifted toward the blue and ultraviolet. The world they see is different from ours, painted in wavelengths we cannot imagine. Honey is made by evaporating nectar. When a forager bee returns to the hive with a stomach full of nectar, she passes it to a house bee, who chews it, adding enzymes that begin breaking down complex sugars into simpler ones. The nectar is then deposited into cells, where house bees fan it with their wings for hours, sometimes days, evaporating excess water until the moisture content drops below 18%. Once sufficiently concentrated, the cell is capped with a thin layer of beeswax, sealing the honey for storage. What was once watery flower nectar has been transformed into a thick, stable syrup that will not ferment or spoil. Bees regulate hive temperature with precision. Inside a healthy hive, the temperature remains remarkably stable, around 93 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, regardless of the weather outside. In summer, bees collect water and spread it throughout the comb, then fan their wings to create evaporative cooling. In winter, they cluster together in a tight ball, vibrating their flight muscles to generate heat without flying. The queen resides at the warm center of this cluster, while workers on the outside rotate inward to avoid freezing. This collective thermoregulation allows bees to survive both scorching heat and bitter cold, maintaining the conditions necessary for brood development. A bee's stinger is barbed. Unlike wasps, which can sting repeatedly, a honeybee's stinger has backward-facing barbs that lodge in the skin of mammals. When the bee tries to fly away, the stinger, along with part of her abdomen, tears free, and she dies shortly after. The detached stinger continues to pump venom into the wound, driven by a small muscle that keeps contracting even after separation. This self-sacrifice is a defense mechanism that evolved to protect the hive from large predators. Each sting is a final act, a warrior's death in defense of the colony. The bee gives everything to protect her sisters and the queen. Propolis is bee glue made from tree resin. Bees collect sticky resins from tree buds and bark, mixing them with wax and enzymes to create propolis, a substance they use to seal cracks, reinforce comb, and coat surfaces inside the hive. Propolis has powerful antimicrobial properties, helping to keep the hive sterile and preventing the spread of disease. Its name comes from Greek, meaning "in defense of the city." Bees even use it to entomb intruders too large to remove, such as mice or beetles, mummifying them in resin to prevent decay. Propolis is sticky, fragrant, and medicinal, a testament to the bee's ingenuity in creating a hygienic home. Royal jelly creates queens. All female bee larvae are genetically identical, yet some become workers while one becomes a queen. The difference lies entirely in diet. Larvae destined to be queens are fed royal jelly exclusively throughout their development, a rich, creamy secretion produced by young worker bees. This diet triggers different genes, resulting in a larger body, functional reproductive organs, and a longer lifespan. Worker larvae, by contrast, are fed royal jelly only briefly before being switched to a mixture of pollen and honey. The hive, in this way, determines its future, shaping individuals through nutrition rather than genetics. Bees sleep, but not like we do. Honeybees do rest, entering a state of reduced activity where their antennae droop and their body becomes still. Younger bees, who work inside the hive, sleep in short bursts throughout the day and night. Older foragers, however, have more structured sleep patterns, often resting at night when flowers are closed and invisible in darkness. During sleep, their metabolic rate drops, conserving energy for the next day's labor. They do not dream as far as we know, but they do rest, and without rest, their ability to navigate, forage, and communicate deteriorates. Even tireless workers need stillness. A hive in winter is a living furnace. When temperatures drop and flowers disappear, the colony contracts into a tight cluster. Bees packed so closely together, they form a living sphere of warmth. Those on the outside shiver, generating heat with their flight muscles, while those inside remain warm, tending to the queen. The cluster rotates slowly, bees on the cold exterior gradually moving inward, and those in the center shifting outward. They survive on stored honey, metabolizing it to produce heat. No individual bee could survive the winter alone, but together the colony endures, a collective organism pulsing softly in the frozen silence. Honey's color depends on the flowers. Honey can range from nearly clear to deep amber, from pale gold to dark brown, almost black. The color depends entirely on the floral source. Clover honey tends to be light and mild. Buckwheat honey is dark and robust. Wildflower honey, gathered from a variety of blooms, shifts in hue and flavor with the seasons. Even within a single hive, honey from different frames may vary, reflecting the landscape's changing palette. Each jar is a botanical snapshot, a taste of place and time, the essence of summer fields distilled and stored in glass. Bees have 5 eyes. 3 small, simple eyes, called ocelli, sit in a triangle on top of the bee's head, detecting light intensity and helping with navigation. 2 large compound eyes, positioned on either side of the head, are made up of thousands of tiny lenses, each capturing a fragment of the visual field. Together, these eyes provide a wide field of view, motion detection, and the ability to perceive polarized light patterns in the sky, even on cloudy days. Bees see the world in facets, a mosaic of movement and color, optimized for flight and flower recognition. A bee's tongue is called a proboscis. This long, straw-like structure is actually a highly modified mouth part, capable of extending and retracting. When a bee lands on a flower, she unrolls her proboscis and dips it into the nectar, drawing the liquid up through capillary action and muscular pumping. The proboscis can reach deep into tubular flowers that other insects cannot access. When not in use, it folds neatly beneath the bee's head. It is delicate, precise, and essential, a tool sculpted over millions of years to match the shapes of blossoms. Bees have 2 stomachs. One stomach is for digestion, processing the pollen and nectar the bee consumes for her own energy. The other, called the honey stomach or crop, is used solely for carrying nectar back to the hive. A valve separates the two, preventing the nectar from being digested during the journey home. When the bee returns, she regurgitates the nectar to pass it to another worker. This system allows bees to be efficient transporters, ferrying resources without depleting them. The honey stomach is a biological cargo hold, evolved specifically for the logistics of hive life. A single bee visits 50 to 100 flowers per trip. During a foraging flight, a worker bee moves quickly from blossom to blossom, sampling nectar and packing pollen into the specialized baskets on her hind legs. She remembers which flowers she has already visited and avoids them, maximizing efficiency. Each trip lasts about an hour, depending on how far she must fly and how rich the nectar sources are. Over her lifetime, a forager may make hundreds of such trips, covering hundreds of miles in total. Her world is measured in flowers, in distance, in tireless repetition. Pollen is the bee's protein source. While nectar provides carbohydrates and energy, pollen supplies the proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals necessary for growth and reproduction. Nurse bees consume large amounts of pollen to produce the glandular secretions needed to feed larvae. Without sufficient pollen, a colony cannot raise healthy brood. Bees collect pollen by brushing it from their bodies with specialized combs on their legs, packing it into dense pellets moistened with nectar. These pellets, often brightly colored, are carried back to the hive and stored in cells near the brood, a pantry of nutrition waiting to be consumed. Foraging is dangerous work. A forager bee faces many threats. She may be caught by predators such as birds, spiders, or dragonflies. She may become disoriented by pesticides, losing her way and never returning home. She may be caught in sudden rain or wind, her wings too wet or battered to fly. She may simply exhaust herself, her flight muscles burning through their energy reserves until she can no longer lift off. Most foragers die in the field, far from the hive, their bodies falling silently among the flowers they worked. It is a quiet heroism, unremarked and unremembered, except by the hive she served. Bees use the sun as a compass. Even when the sun is obscured by clouds, bees can detect its position by reading the polarization pattern of light in the sky. This ability allows them to navigate accurately over long distances, maintaining a mental map of landmarks and calculating the shortest route home. As the sun moves across the sky, bees adjust their internal compass continuously. If a bee is kept in darkness and released hours later, she will adjust her flight path to account for the sun's movement. Time, direction, and light are woven together in the bee's mind, a living astrolabe. Bee larvae are fed thousands of times a day. A developing larva is helpless, a soft white grub curled in its cell. Nurse bees visit each larva hundreds of times, depositing a mixture of pollen, honey, and glandular secretions directly into its mouth. The larva grows rapidly, molting several times as it expands. Within just 5 to 6 days, it increases its body weight by over 1,000-fold. This intense feeding requires enormous resources and labor from the nurse bees, who must consume pollen themselves to produce the food. The hive invests everything in its young, knowing that they are the colony's future. Bee metamorphosis takes about 3 weeks. After the larval stage, the cell is capped with wax, and the larva spins a cocoon inside. Within this sealed chamber, metamorphosis begins. The larva's body breaks down and reorganizes, tissues dissolving and reforming into the structures of an adult bee. Eyes, wings, legs, and stinger all develop in darkness. After about 12 days, the adult bee chews through the wax cap and emerges pale and damp into the hive. She will spend her first days cleaning cells and tending to younger larvae before graduating to other tasks. Her life is short, but every stage is purposeful. Guard bees stand watch at the hive entrance. Older worker bees nearing the end of their lives often take on the role of guards. They position themselves at the entrance, antennae extended, inspecting every bee that tries to enter. They can detect intruders by scent, identifying bees from other colonies or wasps attempting to rob the hive's stores. If a threat is detected, the guards attack, stinging and biting to drive the intruder away. They are the hive's first and last line of defense, willing to die to protect the colony. In their final days, they stand sentinel, vigilant until the end. Bees can recognize human faces. Studies have shown that honeybees can learn to distinguish between different human faces, even when presented with photographs. They process visual information differently than mammals, but they can still identify patterns, shapes, and configurations well enough to tell one face from another. This ability likely evolved to help bees recognize different types of flowers, but it demonstrates a surprising cognitive flexibility. The bee looking at you may remember you filing your features away in a brain smaller than a grain of rice, a tiny observer in a complex world. Honey is hygroscopic. This means it naturally absorbs moisture from the air. If left uncovered in a humid environment, honey will slowly draw in water, diluting itself and eventually reaching a moisture content high enough for fermentation to begin. This is why honey is traditionally stored in sealed containers. Its hygroscopic nature also makes it useful in baking, where it helps keep cakes and breads moist. In wound care, honey draws out moisture and debris, creating an environment hostile to bacteria. It is both absorber and preserver, a substance that pulls the world into itself while resisting decay. Honey contains hydrogen peroxide. When bees add the enzyme glucose oxidase to nectar, it breaks down sugars and produces hydrogen peroxide as a byproduct. This mild antiseptic helps prevent bacterial growth in honey and contributes to its legendary shelf life. In diluted honey, such as when it's applied to wounds, the hydrogen peroxide is released slowly, providing gentle antimicrobial action without damaging tissue. Bees did not invent this chemistry for medicine, but humans have learned to use it that way. The honey in your cupboard is, in a sense, faintly alive with chemical defenses. Honey's pH is acidic. With a pH typically between 3.5 and 4.5, honey is acidic enough to inhibit the growth of most bacteria and fungi. This acidity is another layer of preservation, working alongside low moisture and hydrogen peroxide. The acids in honey come from the nectar itself and from organic acids produced during the enzymatic breakdown of sugars. When you taste honey, that slight tang beneath the sweetness is the presence of acids, a sharpness that balances the sugar and adds complexity to the flavor. It is not just sweet, it is layered. Crystallized honey is still good. Over time, honey naturally crystallizes, forming a grainy, semi-solid texture. This happens because honey is a supersaturated sugar solution, and glucose molecules gradually precipitate out, forming crystals. Crystallization does not mean the honey has spoiled. It can be easily reversed by gently warming the jar in warm water, which dissolves the crystals back into liquid. Some people prefer crystallized honey for spreading. It is thicker, less drippy, and has a different mouthfeel. Crystallization is simply honey changing form, rearranging itself while remaining fundamentally unchanged. Different honeys crystallize at different rates. Honey high in glucose, such as clover or alfalfa honey, crystallizes quickly, sometimes within weeks. Honey high in fructose, such as Tupelo honey, may remain liquid for years. The ratio of these sugars, along with the presence of pollen grains and other particles, determines how and when crystallization occurs. Temperature also plays a role. Honey stored at around 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit crystallizes fastest. Each type of honey has its own timeline, its own rhythm of transformation. Raw honey contains pollen grains. Unfiltered honey retains tiny particles of pollen, propolis, and wax from the hive. These give raw honey a cloudier appearance and a more complex flavor. The pollen also carries proteins and enzymes that some believe offer health benefits, though scientific evidence is mixed. What is certain is that raw honey is less processed, closer to what bees produce in the hive. It has not been heated or strained to clarity. It is honey as it was made, thick, golden, and textured with the dust of flowers. Honey can be used to preserve fruit. In ancient times, before refrigeration, honey was used as a preservative for fruits, meats, and even bodies. Fruit submerged in honey would last for months, protected by honey's antimicrobial properties and its ability to exclude air and moisture. The fruit's own sugars would blend with the honey, creating a sweet, preserved confection. This method was common in Persia and Rome, where honey was abundant and valued. It is a forgotten art now, but the principle remains sound. Honey wraps around things, holding them in suspension, keeping time at bay. Mead is honey wine. When honey is diluted with water and allowed to ferment, the natural yeasts present in the mixture convert sugars into alcohol, producing mead. This is one of humanity's oldest alcoholic beverages, older than beer or grape wine, with evidence of mead production dating back over 9,000 years. Mead can be dry or sweet, still or sparkling, flavored with fruits, spices, or herbs. It was the drink of ancient rituals, of celebrations and offerings. Honey, which does not ferment when concentrated, becomes intoxicating when diluted, a transformation from preservation to celebration. Honey varies in viscosity. Some honey pours quickly, thin and runny. Other honey is so thick it barely flows at all, clinging to the spoon in a slow golden ribbon. Viscosity depends on water content, temperature, and the types of sugars present. Warm honey flows more easily. Cold honey thickens. This physical property affects how honey is used. Thin honey mixes into tea more readily. Thick honey spreads better on bread. Viscosity is texture made tangible, honey's resistance to movement, its reluctance to let go. Heather honey is thixotropic. Thixotropy is a rare property where a substance becomes less viscous when stirred or shaken, but returns to a gel-like state when left undisturbed. Heather honey, produced from the nectar of heather flowers in Scotland and other regions, exhibits this unusual behavior. When first extracted, it is so thick it must be pressed rather than spun from the comb. But once stirred, it flows. This strange quality is due to high levels of protein colloids in the honey. It is a honey that must be coaxed, a honey that behaves like no other. Honey was used as a wound dressing. Long before antibiotics, honey was applied to cuts, burns, and ulcers. Ancient texts from Egypt, Greece, and China all describe honey's use in medicine. Its antimicrobial properties, combined with its ability to keep wounds moist and protected, made it an effective treatment. Even today, medical-grade honey is used in hospitals for chronic wounds and burns. It is not a folk remedy. It is evidence-based care rooted in chemistry. The same substance bees make to feed their young also heals human flesh, drawn from flowers, transformed in darkness, and given back to the world. Manuka honey comes from New Zealand. Produced by bees that forage on the Manuka bush, this honey has unusually high levels of methyl glyoxal, a compound with potent antibacterial properties. Manuka honey is graded by its unique Manuka factor, or UMF, a measure of its medicinal strength. It is dark, thick, and earthy in flavor, with a slight bitterness beneath the sweetness. In New Zealand, it has been used traditionally by the Maori people for healing. Now it is exported worldwide, prized for its therapeutic qualities, a honey that is also medicine. Acacia honey is nearly clear. Made from the nectar of black locust trees, which are sometimes called false acacia, this honey is pale, almost translucent, with a mild, delicate flavor. It is high in fructose and low in sucrose, which means it remains liquid longer than most other honeys. Acacia honey is gentle, non-intrusive, perfect for sweetening without overpowering. It is the honey that disappears into tea, that blends into recipes, that steps back and lets other flavors shine. It is sweetness without assertiveness, light caught in liquid form. Buckwheat honey is dark and robust. This honey, produced from the tiny white flowers of buckwheat plants, is nearly black, with a molasses-like richness and a strong, malty flavor. It is high in antioxidants, higher than most lighter honeys, and has been shown to soothe coughs more effectively than some cough syrups. Buckwheat honey is not subtle. It announces itself bold and earthy, tasting of iron and soil and late summer fields. It is the honey of farmland, of harvests, of hard winters approaching. It is honey with weight. Clover honey is the most common. In much of North America, clover is abundant, and bees forage on it heavily. The resulting honey is light in color, sweet and mild, with a subtle floral note. It is the default honey for many people, the standard by which other honeys are compared. Clover honey crystallizes relatively quickly and has a smooth, even texture when it does. It is the honey of childhood, of grocery store shelves, of toast and tea. It is familiar, reliable, and quietly everywhere. Honeydew. Honey comes from insects, not flowers. In some regions, bees collect not nectar, but honeydew, a sugary secretion produced by aphids and other sap-sucking insects. These insects feed on tree sap, extracting proteins and excreting excess sugars, which coat the leaves in sticky droplets. Bees gather this honeydew and process it just like nectar. The resulting honey is darker, less sweet, and more complex in flavor, often with a slight malty or woody taste. It is sometimes called forest honey. It is honey once removed, sweetness filtered through another creature, a collaboration between bee, insect, and tree. Honey can vary in flavor within the same hive. Even within a single colony, honey from different frames may taste different, depending on what flowers were blooming when it was collected. Early season honey might taste of apple blossoms. Late season honey might carry notes of goldenrod or aster. Beekeepers can sometimes taste the landscape in the honey, identifying specific plants by flavor alone. Each frame is a chapter, a slice of time, a record of where the bees flew and what they found. The hive, in this way, is a library of seasons. Tupelo honey is rare and expensive. Produced from the blossoms of the white Ogeechee tupelo tree, which grows only in specific swamplands of the southeastern United States, Tupelo honey is prized for its unique flavor and its resistance to crystallization. It is high in fructose and has a buttery, floral taste. The tupelo bloom lasts only a few weeks, and the trees grow in remote, flooded areas accessible only by boat. Harvesting tupelo honey is labor-intensive and the supply is limited. It is a honey of place, tied to a landscape most people will never see. Orange blossom honey tastes of citrus. When bees forage on orange, lemon, or grapefruit blossoms in citrus groves, the resulting honey carries a faint citrus aroma and a light, fruity sweetness. It is pale gold, delicate, and fragrant. In Florida, California, and Spain, orange blossom honey is a regional specialty. It evokes orchards in bloom, the scent of blossoms drifting on warm air. It is honey that smells like sunshine, that tastes like spring, that holds within it the memory of trees heavy with white flowers. Lavender honey is aromatic and soothing. Bees that visit lavender fields produce a honey that carries the floral, herbal scent of the plant. It is light in color with a delicate, perfumed flavor that some find calming. Lavender honey is popular in France and Spain, where vast fields of purple blooms stretch across the countryside. It is often used in desserts, in teas, or simply enjoyed on its own. It is honey that smells like Provence, that tastes like twilight in a summer garden, that soothes with scent as much as sweetness. Honey's sweetness comes from fructose and glucose. These two simple sugars make up the majority of honey's composition, with fructose typically being slightly more abundant. The balance between them affects not only sweetness but also crystallization rates and flavor. Fructose is sweeter than glucose, and honey's high in fructose tastes sweeter per gram of sugar. This is why honey is often sweeter than table sugar, even though it contains other compounds that dilute the total sugar content. Sweetness is not uniform, it is a spectrum shaped by molecular ratios and invisible chemistry. Honey contains trace amounts of vitamins and minerals. While not a significant source of nutrition, honey does contain small amounts of B vitamins, vitamin C, calcium, iron, magnesium, and potassium. The darker the honey, the higher the mineral content tends to be. These nutrients come from the pollen and nectar the bees collect. Honey is not a health food in the way vegetables are, but it is more than empty calories. It carries within it fragments of the plants it came from, trace elements absorbed from soil and blossom. Enzymes in honey aid digestion. Bees add several enzymes to nectar as they process it into honey. These include invertase, which breaks down sucrose into glucose and fructose, and diastase, which breaks down starches. These enzymes remain active in raw honey, though they are destroyed by heat. In the human gut, they can assist in the digestion of sugars, making honey slightly easier to process than refined sugar. It is a living substance, in a sense, still chemically active, still working long after the bees have finished their labor. Honey was used as currency. In ancient civilizations, honey was so valuable it was sometimes used as a form of payment. Roman soldiers were occasionally paid in honey. In medieval Europe, rents and tithes were sometimes paid in jars of honey or beeswax. It was a portable, stable, and universally desired commodity. Honey represented wealth, sweetness captured and contained, worth trading across borders. Its value was not just nutritional, but symbolic, a golden standard of abundance and care. The oldest known depiction of honey harvesting is 8,000 years old. In the Cuevas de la Araña, a cave in Spain, there is a rock painting showing a human figure climbing a vine or rope to reach a wild beehive surrounded by flying bees. The figure is collecting honeycomb, holding it in one hand while bees swarm around. This image, painted in ochre on stone, is one of the earliest records of human interaction with bees. It shows that even in the Stone Age, people risked stings and climbed dangerous heights for honey's sweetness. The desire for honey is ancient, primal, and persistent. Beekeeping dates back at least 4,500 years. Ancient Egyptians kept bees in clay hives, harvesting honey and using beeswax for embalming, cosmetics, and religious rituals. Hieroglyphs depict beekeepers smoking hives and extracting combs. Honey was offered to the gods and buried with pharaohs. Beekeeping spread through the ancient world, from Egypt to Greece to Rome, each culture developing its own methods and traditions. The practice has changed over millennia, but the fundamental relationship remains. Humans provide shelter, bees provide sweetness, and both benefit from the arrangement. Aristotle studied bees. The ancient Greek philosopher wrote about bees in his work, Historia Animalium, describing their behavior, social structure, and honey production. He observed the division of labor within the hive and noted the existence of a king bee, though he did not realize the leader was female. His writings show a deep curiosity and careful observation, even if some of his conclusions were incorrect. Aristotle understood that bees were more than insects. They were a society, organized and purposeful, worthy of study and wonder. Honey was used in ancient Greek medicine. Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, prescribed honey for a variety of ailments, including wounds, coughs, and digestive issues. He combined honey with vinegar to create oxymel, a medicinal drink. Greek physicians understood that honey had healing properties, even if they did not know the chemical reasons why. Honey was applied externally and taken internally, a versatile remedy trusted for centuries. Modern science has confirmed much of what the ancients knew. Honey heals. Monks kept bees in medieval Europe. Monasteries were centers of beekeeping during the Middle Ages. Monks needed beeswax for candles to light their chapels and honey to sweeten their food and make mead. They developed organized beekeeping techniques, keeping written records of hive management and honey yields. Bees were seen as symbols of industry, chastity, and divine order. The monastery garden buzzed with life, and the honey produced there was both a practical resource and a spiritual metaphor, sweetness born from discipline and labor. Honey was a preservative for meat. Before refrigeration, honey was used to preserve meat, especially in the Middle East. Meat submerged in honey would last for months, protected from bacteria and oxidation. The honey's low moisture content and antimicrobial properties prevented spoilage. When the meat was needed, it could be rinsed and cooked. The technique was practical though expensive, as honey was valuable. It is a strange image now, meat suspended in gold, but it was once a common method of storage, a way to hold on to summer's abundance through the lean months. Beeswax candles were a luxury. In medieval Europe, most people used tallow candles made from animal fat, which was smoky and smelled unpleasant. Beeswax candles, by contrast, burned cleanly with a sweet scent and a steady flame. They were expensive and reserved for churches and the wealthy. The light of a beeswax candle was considered purer, more fitting for holy spaces. Bees, in this way, provided not just food, but illumination, their wax transformed into light, their labor glowing in the darkness. The term honeymoon may come from mead. One theory suggests that honeymoon refers to the ancient custom of newlyweds drinking mead, a honey-based alcoholic beverage, for a full moon cycle after their wedding. the honey was believed to promote fertility and happiness. Whether or not this etymology is accurate, the association between honey and sweetness, celebration, and new beginnings is ancient and widespread. Honey marks transitions, celebrations, and moments of joy. It is the taste of plenty, of hope, of life beginning again. Honey appears in religious texts. In the Bible, the Promised Land is described as a land flowing with milk and honey, a symbol of abundance and divine blessing. In the Quran, honey is mentioned as a healing substance. In Hindu texts, honey is one of the 5 elixirs of immortality. Across cultures and faiths, honey represents purity, sweetness, and the gifts of nature. It is both earthly and sacred, produced by small creatures but revered by humans as something precious, something worth protecting and celebrating. Honey is mentioned in ancient Sumerian texts. Clay tablets from Mesopotamia, dating back over 4,000 years, contain references to honey and beekeeping. Recipes for sweet cakes made with honey have been deciphered. Legal codes included regulations on bee theft, indicating that hives were valuable property. The Sumerians understood the importance of bees and the worth of what they produced. Honey was part of daily life, of commerce, of ritual. It was already old when writing was young. Honey is a natural beauty secret. Because of the moisture-attracting property we explored earlier, it is often used in lotions, soaps, and face masks. It acts as a humectant, helping skin retain hydration and keeping it soft and supple. Ancient Cleopatra is said to have bathed in milk and honey to maintain her legendary beauty. While the story may be apocryphal, the practice is sound. Honey is gentle on skin, naturally moisturizing, and mildly antibacterial. It is beauty in a jar, simple and effective, used for thousands of years. Honey can soothe a cough. Studies have shown that honey, particularly darker varieties like buckwheat, can reduce the frequency and severity of coughing in children and adults. It coats the throat, reducing irritation, and its antimicrobial properties may help fight infection. The World Health Organization lists honey as a potential treatment for coughs. A spoonful before bed can provide relief and improve sleep. It is an old remedy, now backed by science, a bridge between tradition and evidence, between kitchen and clinic. Honey should not be given to infants under 1 year. Honey can contain spores of Clostridium botulinum, a bacterium that causes botulism. In adults and older children, stomach acid and mature gut bacteria prevent these spores from germinating. But in infants under 12 months, whose digestive systems are still developing, the spores can grow and produce toxins, leading to serious illness. For this reason, honey, though natural and healthful for most, is unsafe for babies. It is a reminder that even gentle substances have limits, that care must always guide use. Honey absorbs odors if not stored properly. Because honey is hygroscopic, it will absorb not only moisture but also smells from its environment. Honey stored near onions, garlic, or strong spices may take on their aroma. This is why honey should be kept in sealed containers away from strong-smelling foods. Properly stored, honey remains pure, its flavor uncontaminated. But left open, it becomes a sponge, pulling in the world around it, changing subtly with exposure. It is both stable and sensitive, enduring yet impressionable. Honey has anti-inflammatory properties. Research suggests that honey can reduce inflammation in the body, both when applied topically and when consumed. Its antioxidants and phytonutrients appear to modulate inflammatory pathways. This may explain some of honey's traditional uses, from soothing sore throats to treating burns. Inflammation is the body's response to injury and infection, but chronic inflammation contributes to disease. Honey, in small ways, helps calm that response, offering relief not through force, but through gentle chemistry, through compounds drawn from flowers and refined by bees. Honeybees are responsible for pollinating 1/3 of the food we eat. Almonds, apples, blueberries, cucumbers, melons, and countless other crops depend on bee pollination. Without bees, agricultural diversity would collapse and food systems would suffer dramatically. Bees do not pollinate for our benefit, but the byproduct of their foraging sustains human civilization. They are unintentional farmers, distributing pollen as they search for nectar, enabling reproduction in plants that feed billions. Honey is their gift, but pollination is their service, essential and irreplaceable. Colony collapse disorder threatens bee populations. In the early 2000s, beekeepers began reporting massive, unexplained losses of honeybee colonies. Worker bees would abandon hives, leaving behind the queen and brood, and never return. The cause appears to be multifactorial. Pesticides, parasites, disease, habitat loss, and stress all contribute. CCD remains a concern, a warning sign that the systems supporting bees are fragile. Without bees, ecosystems falter and food security declines. A decline is a measure of environmental health, a signal we must heed. Varroa mites are a major threat to honeybees. These tiny parasitic mites attach to bees, feeding on their hemolymph and spreading viruses. Infestations weaken colonies, reduce lifespans, and can lead to colony death. Varroa mites have spread worldwide, and controlling them is one of the greatest challenges in modern beekeeping. Treatments exist, but mites develop resistance. The relationship between bee and mite is an arms race, a struggle for survival playing out in hives across the globe. Beekeepers work constantly to protect their bees, battling an enemy smaller than a pinhead. Pesticides can disorient and kill bees. Neonicotinoid pesticides, widely used in agriculture, are particularly harmful to bees. Even sublethal doses can impair navigation, reduce foraging efficiency, and weaken immune systems. Bees exposed to these chemicals may become lost, unable to find their way home. The use of such pesticides is controversial, balancing agricultural productivity against pollinator health. Some countries have banned or restricted neonicotinoids. The debate continues, but the evidence is clear. What we spray on crops affects not only pests, but the bees we rely on. Urban beekeeping is growing. Rooftop hives in cities from New York to London to Tokyo provide bees with diverse forage from parks, gardens, and street trees. Urban areas, surprisingly, can offer pesticide-free environments with long blooming seasons. City honey often reflects a patchwork of ornamental plants, tasting unique and complex. Urban beekeeping connects people to nature, promotes awareness of pollinators, and produces local honey. It is a quiet revolution, bees thriving in unexpected places, proving that even concrete jungles can support life. Honey belongs in the cupboard, not the fridge. While we are accustomed to chilling fresh food to keep it safe, honey actually suffers in the cold. Low temperatures accelerate crystallization, turning smooth syrup into hard granules that are difficult to pour. The ideal storage is simply a sealed container in a cool, dark place, away from heat and light. Stored this way, honey remains stable and clear for years. It simply waits, patient and golden, unchanged by time. Honey has been sent to space. Astronauts have taken honey on space missions as a compact, stable, and energy-dense food source. In microgravity, honey's thick viscosity behaves differently, clumping and floating rather than pouring. It remains edible and nutritious even in the extremes of space. Honey, which began on Earth in flowers and hives, has traveled beyond the atmosphere, carried by humans exploring the stars. It is a small, sweet reminder of home, floating in the silence between worlds. The color of honey darkens with age. Over time, especially when exposed to light and warmth, honey gradually darkens. Chemical reactions between sugars and amino acids create melanoidins, pigments that turn honey from pale gold to amber to deep brown. The flavor may also intensify, becoming richer and more complex. This is not spoilage but transformation, honey aging like wine, changing in color and character while remaining safe to eat. Old honey tells a story written in shades of gold, each year adding depth. Comb honey is eaten wax and all. Some people prefer to eat honey still in its original beeswax comb, chewing the wax to release the honey trapped inside. The wax itself is edible, though indigestible, and passes through the body harmlessly. Eating comb honey provides a more complete experience, texture, and flavor combined. The honey, exactly as the bees stored it. It is primal, unprocessed, and strangely satisfying, like biting into the hive itself, tasting wax, honey, and the faint imprint of bees' labor. Honey can be infused with herbs and spices. By gently heating honey and steeping herbs, spices, or even chili peppers in it, you can create flavored honeys. Lavender honey, rosemary honey, cinnamon honey, and hot honey are popular variations. The honey absorbs the flavors over time, becoming a condiment or ingredient with unique character. Infused honey transforms sweetness into something layered, herbal, or spicy, expanding honey's culinary range. It is honey reimagined, still itself but touched by something else, a collaboration between bee and human creativity. Honey dissolves more easily in warm liquids. When added to hot tea or warm water, honey disperses quickly, sweetening without stirring. In cold liquids, it sinks and clumps, resisting dissolution. This is due to honey's viscosity and the way heat affects molecular movement. Warmth loosens honey's structure, allowing it to blend. This simple fact shapes how honey is used, from sweetening morning tea to dissolving into marinades. Temperature is key. Honey responds to warmth, opening itself, becoming fluid and willing. Honey can ferment if diluted too much. When honey's moisture content rises above 18%, wild yeasts can begin fermenting the sugars, producing alcohol and carbon dioxide. This is how mead is made intentionally, but unintentional fermentation leads to spoiled, fizzy honey that tastes sour. Proper storage prevents this. Sealed and dry, honey remains stable. But exposed to humidity or mixed with water and left unsealed, it transforms, becoming something else, no longer preserved but alive, bubbling with microbial activity. Honey's flavor reflects the soil. The minerals plants absorb from the soil, the water they drink, the air they breathe, all influence the nectar they produce and the honeybees make from it. Honey from volcanic soil may taste different from honey produced in limestone regions. Terroir, a concept borrowed from wine, applies to honey as well. Each jar is a product of place, not just the flowers but the earth beneath them, the invisible foundation that nourishes roots, stems and blossoms all the way up to the bee's tongue. Honey can be used as a natural preservative in jams. When making fruit preserves, honey can replace some or all of the sugar. Its natural acidity and antimicrobial properties help preserve the fruit, while its flavor complements berries, stone fruits, and citrus. Honey jams have a softer set and a more complex sweetness. They taste less processed, closer to the fruit's natural character. It is an old technique revived by those seeking to reduce refined sugar and embrace traditional methods, honey reclaiming its role as both sweetener and guardian. Bees carry an electric charge. When a bee flies through the air, its rapid wing beats cause it to accumulate a positive static electric charge. Flowers rooted in the ground tend to have a negative charge. When a bee lands on a blossom, this difference in polarity causes pollen grains to literally jump onto the bee's body before she even touches them. It is a quiet spark of physics and invisible magnetism that helps the flower travel and the bee return home, dusted in gold. Telling the bees is an ancient custom. In folklore across Europe and North America, it was considered essential to tell the bees when a member of the household passed away. Family members would go to the hives, tap gently on the wood, and whisper the news to the colony. It was believed that if the bees were not informed, they would mourn, stop producing honey, or leave the hive entirely. It is a tradition of respect, acknowledging the bees as part of the family's soul. Bees festoon to build comb. When bees need to produce wax to build new honeycomb, they do not work alone. They hang from the ceiling of the hive in long living chains, gripping each other's legs in a formation called festooning. This lattice of bodies generates the heat required to soften the wax secreted from their abdomens. It is architecture built from cooperation, a scaffolding made of the builders themselves. Mad honey is hallucinogenic. In the mountains of Nepal and Turkey, bees forage on the nectar of poisonous rhododendron flowers. The resulting mad honey contains grayanotoxins, which can cause lightheadedness and hallucinations in humans. While dangerous in large amounts, it has been used in small doses as a traditional medicine for centuries. It is a reminder that nature is wild, and sweetness can sometimes carry a dizzying power. Napoleon chose the bee as his symbol. When Napoleon Bonaparte became emperor, he rejected the traditional French fleur-de-lis and instead chose the honeybee as his personal emblem. He viewed the bee as a symbol of industry, order, and resurrection. His coronation robes were embroidered with gold bees, turning the insect into a mark of imperial power. Even emperors, it seems, looked to the hive for inspiration on how to rule. Bees have a second set of jaws. While the proboscis is used for sipping nectar, bees also possess a pair of strong mandibles or jaws. These are not used for eating, but as tools. They use them to knead wax, carry debris out of the hive, fight intruders, and even groom the queen. If the proboscis is the bee's straw, the mandibles are her hands, essential for the construction and maintenance of her city. The honey flow is a fleeting season. Beekeepers speak of the honey flow, a specific time of year when major nectar sources are blooming simultaneously. During a strong flow, the weight of a hive can increase by several pounds in a single day. The air around the apiary becomes thick with the scent of curing nectar, and the bees work with a frenzied, joyous intensity. It is the harvest festival of the bee world, A brief window of overwhelming abundance. Stingless bees were kept by the Mayans. Long before European honeybees arrived in the Americas, the Maya people kept a native species of stingless bee called Melipona. These bees produce a rare, citrusy honey that is thinner than standard honey and highly medicinal. The Maya viewed bees as sacred links to the spirit world, and their log hives were passed down through generations. It is a different lineage of sweetness, born in the tropical forests of the past. Fireweed honey is the champagne of honeys. In the Pacific Northwest, after a forest fire has scorched the earth, the first flower to emerge is often the fireweed. Bees love it. The honey they produce from it is water white, incredibly smooth, and has a delicate, buttery finish. It is prized by connoisseurs as the champagne of honey. It is a gift of renewal, sweetness rising literally from the ashes of destruction. Bees regulate the drone population. The life of a male drone is one of luxury, but it is strictly regulated. The colony will only raise drones when resources are plentiful. If a sudden famine strikes or nectar flow stops, the workers will stop feeding the drone larvae and may even remove existing drones. The hive is a strict economy. It supports leisure only when there is surplus. Balance is maintained with a cold, necessary logic. Smoke calms bees by masking alarm. Beekeepers use smoke to inspect hives safely, but not because it makes bees sleepy. The smoke masks the alarm pheromones, which smell like bananas, that guard bees release to warn the colony of danger. Unable to smell the alarm, the other bees remain calm and begin gorging on honey in case they need to abandon the hive due to fire. The smoke is a veil of confusion that allows peace to prevail. Bee bread is fermented pollen. Bees do not eat raw pollen. They ferment it first. They pack pollen into cells, mix it with nectar and digestive fluids, and seal it with a drop of honey. Over time, beneficial bacteria break down the pollen's hard outer shell and release its nutrients, creating bee bread. This fermented superfood is the primary protein source for the hive. It is the bees' version of sourdough or kimchi, chemistry used for survival. Eucalyptus honey tastes of menthol. Bees that forage on eucalyptus forests produce a honey with a distinct herbal, medicinal flavor that hints of menthol and caramel. It is often used to soothe colds and clear sinuses. This honey carries the essence of the tree's oil, proving that the character of the honey is inextricably linked to the character of the forest. The queen's piping is a battle cry. When a new queen is about to emerge from her cell, she makes a high-pitched sound called piping. It is a warning to other developing queens. If multiple queens emerge at once, they must fight to the death for control of the hive. The piping is a signal of challenge, a tiny, shrill trumpet sounding in the dark before the dynasty is decided. Honey acts as a time capsule for pollen. Every jar of raw honey contains thousands of microscopic pollen grains. By analyzing this pollen under a microscope, scientists can identify exactly which plants the bees visited and even the geographic region where the honey was made. This melissopalinology allows us to trace honey back to its source, mapping the landscape through the dust trapped in the amber. Bees understand the concept of zero. Scientists have discovered that honeybees are the first insect known to understand the mathematical concept of nothing. When trained to choose cards with fewer shapes to get a reward, bees successfully identified that a blank card, 0, was less than a card with one or two shapes. This ability to process abstract numerical concepts was previously thought to exist only in humans, primates, and parrots. It suggests that inside the tiny, buzzing brain of the bee, there is a capacity for math that rivals our own. And now the golden stream begins to slow. We've drifted through 100 quiet truths. From the hive's wax architecture to the bee's delicate dance, from nectar gathered in summer fields to honey stored in ancient tombs, from chemistry and color to history and myth and everything in between. You've wandered through blooming meadows, hovered at the hive entrance, and tasted the landscapes captured in amber. You are part of this sweetness, not just a consumer of honey, but a participant in its long and luminous story. The sugars you've tasted were once sunlight captured by flowers gathered by bees and transformed in darkness. Every spoonful carries the work of thousands, the flight of millions, the patience of colonies over centuries. Tonight, as you rest, the bees continue. They do not sleep as we do. Even now, somewhere, a bee is visiting a flower, wings humming, legs dusted with pollen, carrying nectar home. The hive is warm, the comb is full, and honey, golden and unchanging, waits in the darkness, ready to sweeten your morning, to heal your wound, to remind you that some things carefully made can last forever. If you're still awake, you can watch the next chapter now. I hope you sleep well and dream softly. Good night.